Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Be bold, be brave, be extraordinary, be vulnerable, be real, be curious, be true, be you. Welcome to Trusting Your Gut with world-class energy intuitive Catherine McIntosh, a show designed to awaken you to enjoy the process of evolving, have fun along the way, and learn to listen to those silent in-between moments. You are the expert of your own life, and nobody knows more about the next steps to take in your journey than you. So please, listen to your gut and discover what's waiting for you to explore. Here is your host, Catherine McIntosh.
All right, my magical friends. So it's that time of day, that time of the week, and it is radio show time. And I'm so glad to be here with all of you. As always, thanks for joining. And if you're brand new to the show, welcome. If you are listening and if the topic that I talk about on the day that you end up joining us live, I do take live callers. I happen to, yes, be intuitive, and people pay me lots of money to sort of channel / read the energies and the unseen energies that we don't always, can't always quite put our finger on. And so one of the things, I'm part of a panel next week live in Aspen talking about the future of health. And I was talking to one of the coordinators, and I said, one of the things that I'm fascinated by is that, so many of us are seeking answers and solutions to the problems that we might be facing or the challenges that we might be having in our lives. And what I've discovered is if you are kind of doing all the things to solve the problem and come up with a solution to something you would like to change or transform, and normal practices aren't providing a long lasting solution, what I've discovered is it's usually the unseen energies underneath the surface that are the root cause of the challenge or problem, or why we haven't been able to heal or haven't been able to get over our lack mindset. And one of the things that fascinates me is that most of us, where we're stuck energetically, where we're stuck physically, where we're stuck financially, where we're stuck emotionally, is usually nonverbal and pre-verbal. And so you're now an adult listening to this, trying to use your faculties in your mind, in your body, in your ability to communicate, and you're trying to use words to communicate and resolve an issue, but the issue that got initiated was most likely formed from a nonverbal or a pre-verbal perspective. And so my philosophy is that if we can be kinder and gentler on ourselves, if we can be more in allowance of the places where we get stuck, and we can discover that it's more about the silent and not so silent energetic cues that our body and our lives are giving us. And if we can pay attention to those energies, we can heal a lot. And one of the things that I've discovered, today's topic is about your parasympathetic nervous system and what it can do for your health. Most of us, when we go in a downward spiral, and I'm guilty of this, we go seeking for an external solution, a doctor, a healer, a therapist, financial advisor, a business coach, or a life coach. And we go seeking for that solution. And so often those solutions can be quite beneficial. But I sometimes find there's usually this like residual energy left over. And that's where I geek out on. And so the parasympathetic nervous system is this incredible system in our body that regulates your heart health, it regulates your digestion, it can even benefit your gut health or not benefit your gut health if your parasympathetic nervous system is out of whack. It also helps your immune functioning, so people who struggle with autoimmune dysfunction, and we talked a little bit about that in last week's show. So if you haven't checked out last week's show, listen to this one first. Thanks for joining us live. And you can catch the replay after the fact from last week. But I wanted to talk specifically about what the parasympathetic nervous system can do for your health. And later on in the show, I'm going to share with you a really simple 2-minute exercise that you can do every day to start to change your gut health by working with the main nerve in your body responsible for your optimal parasympathetic nervous system functioning. And that nerve is called the vagus nerve. And there's a tiny little cluster of nerves in the back of your head by your occiput. And the occiput is that bone that kind of sticks out the back of your head, right? Everybody has one. And so, every occiput is shaped differently. Back in the day, I was a hairdresser, and you really had to like feel people's occiput bones because you didn't want to give them too short of a haircut and they might have a weird occiput and then they got a weird looking haircut. So the occiput, and where the occiput is, the vagus nerve is kind of right behind that, right underneath it. And so there are things that you can do to help regulate your parasympathetic nervous system. But what I wanted to talk about is that most of us on the planet, especially in the last several years, without knowing it, we've been functioning from this chronic fight or flight in our nervous systems. And a pill is not going to resolve the solution, right? Resolve the problem, but it might temporarily give you relief. And so I personally am a big proponent of, if if it's necessary and if it's helping you survive in the moment, it's great to seek out things that provide temporary relief, but you have to realize that you haven't yet gotten to the root of the problem to solve it long term. And that's why most women who struggle with their body image and body weight and their body health in general, they don't even know they're in chronic fight or flight. And, one of the things that I've discovered is women tend to be excellent at people pleasing, which isn't always a good thing because it can wreak havoc on your nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system, and especially it can wreak havoc on keeping your cortisol levels extremely high. And when your cortisol levels are extremely high, you can't access your tuition. Your digestion doesn't work as efficiently and effectively as it could. Your metabolism slows down. You're basically in chronic stress mode. And in chronic stress mode, cortisol levels high, it's really hard to create sort of a congruent energy, a congruent relationship with your body. And so then you feel like you're at the effect of your body: stress, weight gain, up and down mood swings, erratic stuff. And, if you're in a phase of life in which your hormones are changing, but you don't know it, which a lot of women start experiencing in their mid 30s, a shift in their hormones. And so they might blame it on PMS, or they might blame it on their relationship, or they might blame it on stress in their business, or they might blame it on their family stress or their financial stress. And really, what's happening is that these hormones are changing, and as these hormones change, we experience chronic fatigue. We experience feelings of depression and lethargy. We experience severe mood swings. We experience like sort of erratic behavior. We might experience loss of just excitement for life. Might get really frustrated on things that feel like they are outside of our control. And what I've discovered is, if you can go inside, if you can regulate your parasympathetic nervous system, if you can sort of focus on your breathing and doing intentional breathing, if you can connect to the inside of you, you can then change your parasympathetic nervous system, which changes your digestion, can change your gut health, can change your heart health, can change the way blood flows through your body, can allow oxygen to sort of go into every cell. And one of my yoga teachers basically said that if you have a body that is, every cell in your body is oxygenated to capacity and has oxygen in it, you can avoid any sort of fatal diseases. So cancer, right? If you are using your breath in a way that heals your body. So I always love the inhale through the nose, the exhale through the nose in an intentional way. Yoga is great. Pilates is great. Tai Chi is great. Meditation is great. All of those things, if you can do intentional breath work where you're purposely using your inhale and your exhale intentionally through the nose and out the nose, you will start to oxygenate the blood in your body. Chlorophyll is a great supplement, right? You can put drops of chlorophyll in your water, and that will help your sort of oxygen levels in your body. And when your cells are oxygenated, you have a far more likely chance of being able to optimize your health. And here's the kicker, is that stress, no matter how healthy you eat, no matter how many supplements you take, no matter how much you exercise or take care of yourself, if the stress in your body is at constant chronic high levels, the stress can activate suppressed wounds, forgotten traumas in your body. And all of a sudden, all that stress sort of activates a trauma, and all of a sudden, you feel incompetent or incapable of handling the normal stresses of life. And that's because your parasympathetic nervous system is not yet regulated and your nervous system isn't yet regulated. So, I want to share with you towards the end of this episode things that you can do. One thing in particular, an exercise that you can take every day, start to implement in your world 2 minutes, 3 minutes a day, and you will start to change your parasympathetic nervous system. I've been working with a group of people going through my 6-month coaching program, and I've been working with a lot of these women for many years, and some of them have struggled with some of the worst things that you could imagine ever happening to someone. And they've done a phenomenal job at life. And here's the deal, if you're still alive, if you're listening to this show, you have done a phenomenal job at life. Like, you got to pat yourself on the back through all the ups and downs, through your grief, through loss, through divorce, through transition, through navigating the last 3 years of life, through, the world's changes. You're still here and you're still going. And chances are you're curious about how you can live your best life. And one of the keys to that is through your parasympathetic nervous system. And so, no matter how clean and healthy you might be, if you aren't purposely daily regulating your nervous system, regulating and sort of keeping an eye and tabs on your stress levels, that stress, when it becomes chronic, which you might even not know it's chronic, but you can look for symptoms. Fatigue is a symptom, depression is a symptom, anxiety and panic attacks are a symptom that your nervous system isn't regulated. You can pay attention to how you sleep. And if you sleep all curled up and not necessarily relaxed, that's a symptom that you might not have a regulated nervous system, that your stress levels might be chronic, that you might be, and your body might be feeling as if it's getting chased by a bear when you're going to the grocery store. And so, when stress hits for long periods of time in a chronic state, it can activate dis-ease. It can create a whole lot of health challenges. So, for those of you that struggle with digestion, might be a clue that it's not about just focusing on your digestion, it's looking at your whole health. The future of health is about looking at and being curious about those unseen, nonverbal, pre-verbal cues. And instead of trying to use your words to solve your problems, you start using and paying attention to your energy, right? And what I know is when you mitigate the stress, when you work on getting your heart and your head in alignment, when you use your breath to oxygenate your blood, right? Those things can be far more beneficial than an over the counter supplement or a prescription medication. And so, prescriptions are fine and they definitely serve a purpose, but over time, if you're just reliant on the prescription and not reliant on the fact that inside of your body is a pharmacy, right, of pharmaceuticals that can, lead to serotonin and dopamine and regulating estrogen and balancing your progesterone and getting your testosterone in good levels. Like, for women, magnesium is excellent for helping hormone health, right? Excellent for estrogen. Zinc for men is excellent for keeping their testosterone regulated. Those are really beneficial things. But if you're in chronic stress and you're taking supplements, chances are your body isn't absorbing the supplement in a way that is as beneficial as it could be to your mental, physical, and emotional health. And so, why the parasympathetic nervous system, right? It's really easy to regulate and it's way easier than we've ever been taught. And so, you don't need to use words. You don't need to go to the therapist. Now, go to the therapist if you need to talk it out because sometimes it helps. I have really good girlfriends that help me talk things out when I need it. But the point is that the future of health is about using your internal body as your greatest resource. And inside your body is all of these magical systems that work miraculously. But what if you could fine tune those systems and make your life even that much better? For me, that's where it's at. And so if you're finding yourself in stress, in erratic mood swings, in fatigue, in having anxiety or panic attacks, in feeling flustered by life or flustered by things that normally wouldn't get to you, chances are your hormones might be off. And what you can do for your, hormones is focus on regulating that parasympathetic nervous system. And so this little vagus nerve back of your occiput is responsible for the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is this cluster of nerves that kind of clusters around your occiput. And then it's the longest nerves cluster of nerves in the body, which I think is really cool. And so when you focus on regulating your vagus nerve, that regulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which then contributes to improved digestion, right? Improved everything. And I think it's so valuable if you are fatigued, if you're having trouble sleeping, if you're finding yourself staying up at night worrying about money, chances are the exercise I'm going to share with you at the end of the show will probably really help you get more regulated. And when you're more regulated, hormones improve, digestion improves, metabolism improves, even your skin health can improve, right? So like I went through a few weeks of some chronic things I had to deal with, and my skin responded, right? It broke out, and I was like, oh wow! But when we start to go inside, you are the greatest resource for solving your own problems. You are the greatest resource for being the answer and the solution to things you haven't yet been able to resolve. And so I want to invite you to consider that perhaps you have the answers and you are the answer that you've been looking for. And so when we get stressed out, and I think this is a really critical and crucial sort of thing to look at. When we get stressed out, we tend to look at people and energies in our immediate environment and focus on what they are or aren't doing. And I'll give you an example. So, my son's dad, who was my ex husband, right? He moved to Aspen recently. And so we're getting accustomed. I still am with Duke the majority of the time, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It is my favorite thing to do to be his mother. But I saw his son's dad the other day, and we're working on a relationship. It's an ever evolving relationship. My focus is, it is important to show up for my son, and my son is the happiest he's ever been. And that to me is worth it. And so, I have in the past gone into resentment or being passive aggressive or behaviors that aren't necessarily beneficial for myself, for my ex-husband, and for my son. But lately, I've just been in this place of like, my son's happiness is of utmost importance. And so I saw him the other day, and I noticed that in my head, I was focused on things that I wanted him to do more of, how I wanted him to show up more and support more. And then I took a step back and I went, wait a second. He asked me to do something a couple weeks ago, and I haven't yet done it. Isn't that interesting? I wanted to focus on him and what he was or wasn't doing. But at the end of the day, I had a teacher that always said, if you're pointing a finger at someone, there's at least three, if not four fingers pointing back at you. And so you want to look at yourself as what can you do different or change. And so when we're upset in our lives, when we're stressed out, the last place we look for a solution is inside. And yet, it's the place that's the most valuable. It's also the place that holds the answers. And it's the place that's the easiest to control because you can't control anyone else. You can only control you, right? Pretty amazing. You can't control anyone else. You can only control you. And so if you are focused on everybody else in your world, it's sort of like why when family dynamics start falling apart, the husband and wife might start focusing on what the other isn't doing or wishes they would be doing, right? Or they start focusing all their energy on the children. And that, I think, is a huge mistake because we'll miss out on the growing process, on the possibilities that are available. And, coming up in a couple weeks, I've got this incredible class that I'm doing called People Pleasing the Class. And it's going to become an online program that people will be able to sort of do in their own pace at their own time and join at any time. But what I've discovered is when we're focused on our environment outside of ourselves, guess what? Cortisol levels are increased. Vagus nerve isn't regulated. Parasympathetic nervous system isn't regulated. Heart might be a little erratic, right? So some of you are like, oh my God, my digestion's off. Let me focus on my digestion. And I'm like, no, your digestion's off. Focus on your cortisol levels, your stress levels, and your vagus nerve, your parasympathetic nervous system, right? If you have brain fog, you might want to focus on your nervous system, right? And these two systems, the nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, super important in being responsible for your overall health and vitality. And so this people pleasing class is going to be a class that helps you regulate your health, helps you live your best life ever. Because Lord knows we're not here to live mediocre lives. We're not here to spend all of our time trying to solve our problems. We're here to create a brand new world. We're here to open doors to possibilities that haven't yet existed. And when you're focused on your past and what hasn't happened yet, or what someone did to you in your past that did you wrong, you're missing out on a creative moment that could change the future of your life. Right? And I think that we forget that inside of each of us is the solution to changing our entire lives. And so, if you're not happy with where you're at in your life, my invitation to you, subtly or not so subtly, is to stop focusing on a past, right? That you can't change. Stop focusing on people in your life that you can't control. Stop focusing on your environment that you can't control, and start focusing on what you can control. And you can control your breath. You can control your stress levels by doing simple things every day to change it. And I'll give you one of those at the end of this. So, this people pleasing class that I'm really excited about is actually when we're stuck in people pleasing, we can't create our future in a way that we'd like. We're just recreating our past over and over and over again, right? And expecting different results, right? As Einstein says, that's the definition of insanity. And so, for those of you out there that are worried about what other people think, that are afraid to take a leap of faith and risk in you and starting your own business or making a tough life decision, and you're not making that life decision because you're worried about how you're going to be judged or perceived, chances are, like me, because I was a chronic people pleaser and didn't know it. And I prided myself on being really good at being a shapeshifter. Well, I could fit into any situation at any time. You could put me in the mud. You can put me on the top of a mountain on skis. You can give me a mountain bike. You can, put me in the river and go fishing. You can put me in a ball gown and I'll go to a fancy gala or a cocktail party. Like, I can kind of fit everywhere. And I used to pride myself in my shape-shifting abilities, but it wasn't until I realized that I was doing it for others, not for me. And it started to cost me my health. It started to cost me my energy levels. It started to fatigue me. It started to cost me lots of money in my business. And it started to cost me having an intimate relationship with myself and my body. And so, if you're out there and you're listening and you can resonate with this, I want to invite you to stay tuned. We're going to come back after these messages, but stay tuned for a break, and I will give you a really simple exercise that you can do every day to start to get your parasympathetic nervous system back on track. Stay tuned.
Om Times TV.
Do you trust you? Do you trust your body? What if the key to unlocking the weight, pain, suffering, fear, anxiety, addictions, traumas, and sorrows was already inside of you? Learn to love the skin you are in so you can create the body, business, and life you love. Everyone always says you can't explain what Catherine does, you just have to experience it. From Hollywood actors to New York Times best-selling authors to some of the world's wealthiest and most successful, no two experiences are the same. For private sessions, online courses, live events, and the latest book Jack Canfield calls Game Changer and should be required reading for everyone, go to katherinemcintosh.com. KatherineMcintosh.com.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas.
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Okay, my friends, we are back and I'm so excited. I know it's kind of like some of you might be listening to me like, well, parasympathetic nervous system, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, it could save you tens of thousands of dollars. It could save you heartache. It could save you second guessing, or thinking something's wrong with you. And, one of my favorite phrases is, what if there's nothing wrong with you? What if there's no problem to solve? And what if there's nothing to fix? And the truth is, when you realize that inside of you is all the tools, all the resources to be able to literally change any and every area of your life, especially your health, especially your happiness. We're not here to be not happy. Right? We're not here to kind of like go around life being mediocre and having our lights be dim. We're here to light up not only our lives and the lives of those around us, but when you shine your light, you change the world. And that's a world I'm interested in living in. And so this parasympathetic nervous system, I studied it in grad school when I went to study somatic psychology, right? There's such an incredible connection between your heart and your mind. And, most people, when their body falls apart, they look to fix the body. And what I've discovered in the last year and a half, 2 years, is when you change your head, and I've known this for a decade, but it's shifted a little bit because I also went through my own personal health scare with my hormones, with my energy levels, with fatigue. And I started doing these simple things to regulate my nervous system, to regulate my parasympathetic nervous system. And the benefits that it's reaping, it's like I want everyone to know that this is available instantaneously. So next time you get stressed out, next time you're about to have a panic attack, instead of reaching for a Xanax or freaking out, you go, oh my gosh, I can change it inside of me. And the truth is, you hold the power to you. Nobody else holds the power over you. And if you are giving somebody else the power over you, right, like I talked about before break, chances are you might be a chronic people pleaser. And this people pleasing class that I'm doing starting in a couple weeks is going to change the game, my friends. It's going to change your health. It's going to change your business. It's going to change your relationships. And you just have to look at like, wow, do I care about what other people think? So much so that I give up what's important to me. Do I show up for others first before showing up for myself? And the health benefits that it will have when you fire your chronic people pleaser can literally change your life. I'm living proof. I'm watching a lot of people in my life who I've been sharing these tools with change their lives because of it. And it's going to be a pretty amazing class. So I'm pretty excited. And so you're welcome to check out the website. I've got all the information on the homepage. You can also check out the live events page to see what's upcoming. But yeah, my friends, this is about empowering you to find like your light and reconnect with your light and reconnect with your body. And so if there's an area of your life that you keep trying to change and you haven't had any luck, the exercise I'm going to share with you at the end of the show is going to probably give you some insight into some things. I've been sharing this with people for the last 3 months. We've been doing it almost daily. And some of these people are changing things they've spent their whole lives trying to change, and they couldn't change it through doctors, through healers, through therapists. But these simple little techniques are pretty mind blowing. And so if you are somebody who wants to like go, yeah, whatever, I'll take the pill, that's fine. Do what you want. But if you are listening and your ears start perking up or you're leaning forward, that's a clue that some of the information that's in this show today is probably for you and probably for your body. And so I personally had no idea that I was as fatigued, as stressed out, and in fight or flight as I was until I started having panic attacks. So about a year and a half ago, when I started like really being smack dab in the middle of a heat storm, right? My hormones had changed and they had probably been changing for years, but I didn't know that that's what was happening. And so, I look at it and I wish that at 39, 38, 40, 41, 42, I would have started to pay attention to my hormones. But I kind of, you know, mm, I wouldn't say messed up because everything happens for a reason. I kind of was like, oh, it won't happen to me. Oh, it won't happen to me. And I just saw a woman who's also a healer and she's like, oh my God, hormones, it's happening. I'm like, I know. And I don't think, now more than ever, people are starting to be more vulnerable with the journey that they go on. None of us are perfect. None of us are getting it right first time off. Life is about the journey of progress and evolving into the best version of yourself that you can. And no one can tell you how to do that. But gosh darn it, I wish we all had a little bit of a manual that kind of gave us a heads up ahead of time. And I'm sure we all have had the aunt or the sister or the friend that went through it and said, hey, you should really check it out. And we're like, yeah. We'll deal with it later. I'm not dealing with it now because we're not experiencing the symptoms. It's only when we find ourselves in the middle of a burning fire or in the middle of a really challenging life situation that then we get desperate to seek out help. And here's the kicker, is most of us are seeking help outside instead of realizing that the help is inside. And so when you start to regulate your parasympathetic nervous system, your digestion will improve, your heart health will improve. And when your heart health improves, guess what? You pump fresh oxygen throughout the body, right? Fresh blood, right? And then that fresh oxygen can oxygenate the cells. If you have every cell in your body optimally functioning with the right amount of oxygen, right? You can avoid dis-ease. You can avoid cancer. You can avoid autoimmune deficiencies. And so may this all be a reminder, an invitation to you to start to pay attention to your internal world. How are you waking up? Are you waking up happy? Are you waking up going, okay, today's another day and I'm alive and it's a good a good day, right? Awesome. Awesome. So, all right. With that being said, I teased you guys long enough. Would you like to, what would you like me to walk you through the benefits of this little vagus nerve exercise? And I promise you, it's so funny. I coach people for a living. I work on energy with people for a living. I help them through, house sales and divorces and, any lawsuits. And I feel very fortunate to have the life I have. And, I love my long-term clients, my clients that come to me and they're like, we want to work with you for a year. And I'm like, great, I will hold you accountable. I will show up for you. I will help sort of navigate the unseen. And a lot of them, I'm like, hey, if you just do this for a year, you could fire me. And they're like, yeah, but we like you. I'm like, okay, good. Well, I like sticking around. But sometimes we dismiss these little tiny things that we can do to drastically improve our health because they seem so simple. And so I know people who've struggled with weight or cancer or autoimmune deficiencies their whole lives. And I say to them, do this 3 minutes a day. It might drastically change your energy levels. It might improve your sleep. It might change your heart health. It might, eradicate your heart arrhythmia that you've been experiencing. And people go, meh, meh. Yeah, whatever. And oh my goodness, it does help. And so I want to invite you to consider that, yes, this is a very simple, practical, easy to do. You can do it first thing when you wake up. You can do it not when you're driving, but you can do it in your car when you got a 3-minute break. You can do it at your, desk if you have a computer and you need a little brain break. And so often we dismiss the things that are the simplest. And so I know a lot of people who get like these whispers of things that seem too easy and they dismiss it and they realize that that was their intuition trying to open the door to a greater life, to a greater future. And I think that when the women and men of the world, right, when we all, whatever you identify as, when we all start paying attention to our intuition and the whispers inside of us, it will drastically not just change our own lives, it changes the world. And, that's a world that I want to live in. It's a world I want to see happening. It's a world I do currently live in. And I want to see it expand throughout the world in its own way. And the planet is waking up. And, in the wake of a wake up, there's always things. There's wars and there's destruction and there's pain and there's grief, and it doesn't make it easy, right? Grief is something that we all navigate at one time or another in our lives. But the point is that inside of you have the ability not just to survive life, but to thrive. And this simple exercise that probably 98% of people will never do, even though here's one of a very easy solution. Do it for 90 days and see what happens. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take those of you that are on video watching, great. I'm going to walk you through it specifically. So if you're not on video, you can pay attention. So in front of you, you're going to take your hands and you're just going to interlock your fingers together, right? So you've got your thumbs together, your fingers together. If any of you ever played that steeple game as a kid, right? So you're just interlocking your fingers and then you're going to kind of open your palms to face you. And you're just going to take those hands behind your head and place them on your occiput bone. And as your fingers are interlocked, you can kind of gently and softly wing your elbows out, right? So you can also do this laying down, but you can do it sitting up, and it's a great time to do it first sitting up so you can have the experience. And what you do is you just keep your upper body kind of facing towards you. See, it's already happening. And so every time we yawn, did you know that yawning helps heal the parasympathetic nervous system? Pretty cool. Every time you yawn, you are releasing energy out of your body. And, as a healer, when I work with people in person or even on Zoom or on the phone, I'm yawning the entire time I'm working with them. And I'm like, they all have learned that that's my body's way of acknowledging that the energy is changing. Right? It's my body's way of releasing energy, right? I joke with the producer of the show, Chris, and he's like, every time you start talking about yawning, I end up yawning the whole show. So this one's for you, my friend. So, with your hands interlocked behind your occiput, with your elbows, softly, gently winged open, you're going to keep your chin up and your face looking forward. He says it's true, right? With your face looking forward. And what you're going to do is you're just going to say hi to your vagus nerve, and you're going to basically say, this is sort of my way of doing it, is anything that's in your vagus nerve that is not not a valuable resource for your future. It is not going to contribute to your future. Anything trapped in the vagus nerve that's ready to go can go. So if you are personally struggling with relationships, you can go, okay, anything in my vagus nerve that has me struggling with relationships, I ask it to leave, right? Anything that has me struggling with lack in the financial world, it has to go, right? And you can ask specifically. I am a big proponent of speaking out loud what we would like to transform and change. Why? The body is 60 to 76% water, and you talk to the body, right? It responds. And I can already feel it happening, because as I'm talking, all of the things that help heal the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, are happening in my body. Salivating, yawning, swallowing, right? All those things are happening. And so with your hands winged out, right? With your elbows winged out, your hands interlocked at your occiput, your sort of relaxed spine but upright, and you keep your eyes looking straight forward, you're just going to gently ask anything that's in the vagus nerve that is ready to be released, that does not belong in your future. There you go. It's already happening for me, right? I'm starting on. Excuse me. You're going to take your eyes and you're going to gently, without moving your head, so your head stays directly facing forward. You just want to move your eyes, and you want to just look to the right without straining your eyes. So you're gently looking to the right, asking to release anything in your vagus nerve that's ready to go. And the way you know that you've done it is you'll either yawn, you'll salivate, or you swallow, or you will swallow. And I'm doing all three, right? And so then you can bring your eyes back to looking at center. And then you're just going to take your eyes to the left, gently looking to the left. Oh, and asking the vagus nerve to release anything that it's ready to release. Yeah, there you go. Wow. And you wait until you yawn, salivate, or swallow. And then you come back to center. And you can ask for all that energy to dissipate, the imprinting of that memory or of that energy to dissipate out of your body. You can go ahead and release your hands, and you can just notice if you feel any lighter. So when done, it only takes 2 to 3 minutes. It took a little bit longer just because I was explaining it. But this little tiny exercise, when done appropriately, can literally change your life. And I've got this breakthrough body challenge happening. Anyone can join. And if you feel like you could use support in eliminating pain out of your life and healing maybe a chronic dis-ease that you've been struggling with for a long time, if you have autoimmune deficiency, if you are struggling with your weight, or you're struggling with your self-esteem or your body image, I'm doing a 5-day challenge coming up. Anybody can join at any time, and we are going to do a lot more of this with that to get you in alignment with the most optimal version of you. And here's the deal: when you realize you hold the power, it will change your life. And so, my friends, when you change your vagus nerve. When you do that exercise, the parasympathetic nervous system can regulate, which gives you more confidence. It can help with your balance. It can help with your hormones. It's responsible for your immune health, your heart health, right? Your gut health, your digestion, and so much more. And so the key to changing anything and everything in your life is inside of you. I know it sounds crazy, but it's really true, right? The key to changing anything and everything in your life that you have thought you haven't been able to change is inside of you. And here's the deal. If you're trying to solve it with words and you've been telling yourself the same story for a year or 2 years or a decade, chances are the words that you've been sharing are now locked in your body as a problem. And those words, if it was true, you would have healed the problem. You would have come up with a solution. But most traumas and most stuck energies and most things where we're functioning from lack or fear or shame or guilt or not enough, those energies have been locked in our bodies from a nonverbal pre-verbal. And so there are so many things that you can do to empower yourself to get free. I've got a free download on my website that is a video and a PDF download on really quick things you can do to start to heal your nervous system. And if I were you, I'd go to my website, katherinemcintosh.com. I'd download that and I would get started immediately because you hold the power. And that power is in your thoughts. That power is in how you allow your heart to be open to life and to the magic and possibilities that are available to all of us every day, right? If you've been struggling, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to recognize you're not a victim. You are the superhero and the superheroine of your own life, and you have the power inside of you and the superpowers inside of you to do something about the things that you don't like. And so if you're out there and you've been complaining about the same thing over and over again, you might want to ask yourself, do I actually want to change it, or do I just like complaining about it? Do I just like being a victim? Right? Every day we have a choice when we have the chance to make different choices, to make better choices, to practice being a better human every day. It's not about getting it right. It's not about being perfect, but it's about showing up as you, as your best self, not caring what other people think, not worrying about, how social media perceives you or how people who don't even know you perceive you. It's about you feeling good about you at the end of the day. And that's all that matters. So my magical friends, I just want to thank you for joining me, for being live with me. If you are listening to this and you think there's someone in your life that needs to listen to this show, please send it out. Please share it. Because the point is, we're all here to be better versions of ourselves every day. And we're all doing the best we can every day. And, we cannot say where somebody else is on their journey. All we can do is pay attention to our own journey. And if we don't like it, either keep complaining about it and don't ask to change it, or change it. So my friends, you hold all the power. Thank you for being here. And I can't wait to see you next time.
Catherine is not a medical practitioner nor a licensed therapist. She has strong opinions and will express them, and truly believes that you are your best advocate for any and every area of your life. If you need medical advice, please consult your physician.